Hi everyone, I'm Mark,
And I'm Alex.
and this is Final Stop for Final Fantasy Talks. Welcome everyone to episode 29 of our Final Fantasy IX podcast series. So we're just continuing on the story. If you're new, returning, and just want to begin at the beginning of when we started Final Fantasy IX, episode 6 is where that is at. As for us, we have a lot to get through, so we're going to try our best to just power through it. It's not Alex and I's strength, but we're going to we're going to try our best. So where we left off last time was we're back in Lindblom again, third time around. Remember, we did that fancy footwork to get that give me my money forced ATE, the one that's nice and hidden and all that stuff. And then we got the Blue Narciss ship. So now we're back in the open world. We got a full party again. And so let's actually talk about that, man. So if you do go ahead, you select your party and you're on the ship and you're going around and you want to change it, right? Well, how do we do that?
You got the option to talk to Sid on the ship. I think you press I don't know, what is it, triangle or something like
Yeah.
that while you're in the Blue Narciss, and then you can go to the deck of the ship and you can talk to everybody and stuff. So yeah, you can talk to Sid, and this is pretty much the first time I believe in the game that you
Yeah.
actually can choose from the entire party, which is awesome. And at this point, Steiner, mainly these four characters are usually going to be behind in levels because they've been missing for vast majority of the story. So
Right.
Steiner, Amaranth, Freya, and Kina are likely going to be behind on abilities and levels. And then of course Dagger's got issues, right?
Yeah. Yeah, remember Dagger cannot talk right now. Oh no! Remember that horrible thing. Oh gosh, but it's kind of an interesting thing. If you do include her in your party, yeah, you go to use some things like maybe you heal or attack or whatever, but any action it has the chance to basically not happen, and her, being like can't concentrate, and you're like, well, crap,
Yeah,
it just fails. And not only that, but you got so much stuff to learn with
right.
her, so many Dolans, and so it's kind of like, you might want to have her all the time, but just kind of be prepared that, yeah, for the most part, yeah, you're kind of three-manning it, you can't always count on
She's
her.
Yeah, she's a pretty tough character to use at this point. I'm not really sure what the rate of that happening is, but trust me, it happens more than you'd like it to happen. It's
Yeah.
really annoying. It totally skips her turn. You'll have entered, especially since she's a healer. It's often that you're trying to heal and
Yeah.
save your party member and stuff, and then she's like, Dagger can't concentrate. It's like, oh, thanks, Dagger. Appreciate that. I know
Yeah.
you can't talk and everything, but
So you can't concentrate. Yeah, I don't.
yeah.
But you do
So
have the choice, as we left off last episode, and as we just hinted at, you have the full entire party, and so I know you're kind of playing through a little bit as I am. So who are you
yeah.
rolling with this time?
I'm taking Kina for some reasons that we'll get to in a little bit here. I'm taking Freya because she's just so far behind in levels and also
Yeah,
ability. She's got to catch up a lot. And then I'm taking Amaranth because, again, I got to try and get him up on the levels and everything. And now I'm taking Aiko as the healer. So I'm kind of going with a different sort of team because I played through this game, to the point
yeah,
where, I like a little challenge. So not having Steiner and Vivi is a little bit more challenging. They're really good players. So what
yeah.
about you?
Well, and that's kind of my thing, the traditional sense, and we'll kind of get more into strong parties, I guess, because there, in my opinion, dude, in 9-2, it's not like there's a best setup. Every character has some pretty darn good strengths. And 9, the thing with 9 is it's not that hard of a game that you need to really min-max everything,
Yeah,
It's like
that's
there's
true.
really only a few bosses and encounters that are kind of difficult. The rest of it's kind of easy. And so now I'm going with Amaranth, Freya, and Kina. So I'm not rolling any healers. I mean, there's enough
Oh
healers
wow,
between them, and so this will kind of be interesting. I've never done that
that
before.
will.
And usually I use Steiner VV Dagger, so it's kind of like I want to switch it up.
The
But
OG3, they're like the powerful ones. I mean, they
yeah,
really are good.
all right. Well, here's the thing. We decided that we are going to take this episode to talk about all of the side stuff that has just opened up for us right now. So we are not going to progress to go to Black Mage Village. Instead, we got a whole lot of stuff to get through. So especially right now, we're going to start talking about Chocographs and Chocobo, really, for the most part. So here's the thing. You now have access to a whole lot of stuff. And we're going to talk about the Chocobos. There's a lot of extra stuff you can go do. But we're going to talk about Choco right now because he can get some upgrades that once you have them essentially make the Blue Narciss obsolete. Like you can, you don't really even need it anymore. And so just to kind of keep in mind, we, as far as Chocographs go, we have already talked about and are just kind of, with our playthrough have gotten, so to speak, we have gotten Streamside, Between Mountains, Healing Shore, and Abandoned Beach. I believe that's numbers 1, 2, 4, and 5. You have your Reef upgrade, so Choco's a nice light blue color, right? So first step to do, and you're right there. Once you have the Blue Narciss, just go ahead and pull over to the beach right by Limblum and get Choco. Some other things, you can hit up the frogs on the way. We're going to get to that in a moment. So, you could do that. But head on over to Chocobo Forest, and Mene's got something to say, right?
Mean pretty much tells you that he found this this new lagoon, and it puts it right on the map. It's pretty much over by the western islands that are... It's by the continent that we haven't been yet, so it's sort of unnamed, we don't know it, but it's way off on the west of the map. It's a little bit tricky to sort of get to the actual lagoon. You have to land on the beach, right? And then there's some Chocobo tracks.
The Chocobo Lagoon's on one island, and there's a beach there, but there's no tracks on that one, so you do have to go to a nearby island that has the tracks. And it's just, it is tricky because you can't just go straight there. You have to go kind of a roundabout way that leads to that unnamed new continent and kind of circle back.
Yeah, you got to follow the reefs over there pretty much because Choco at this point, he can only travel on the shallows in the ocean. So you just got to follow the reefs around. It'll take you close to that big old desert continent. You just follow around the shore. And then when you get there, basically you see Mean there. He's there. And then you can start doing your Chocobo's Hot and Cold here. But the catch-22 with this is you only have half of the area to work with because the other half is too deep.
Yeah.
So he needs like the ocean. Choco needs the ocean ability to be able to do that. So the catch with this is actually pretty tricky because you get half of the time. So you only have 30 seconds to dig. Yeah. And the other thing that's weird about this place is even the basic items are really hard to dig up. Like I think the average is you'll see is that like it'll be 70 or 80 points, that little point thing it comes up when he hits it. But so for the Chocographs, you're looking for a point total. They'll be like 120, 130 points or something. So it's actually really hard.
I think you're thinking more of the deep ocean side ones. For this side, usually the Chocographs, I just did this earlier today, are about 80 is what it is. But to your point, the items are... Potions are going to be like 50 to 60, and stuff like that. Yeah,
they're hard to dig up.
They are. And I was thinking this while I was doing it today. I'm like, you get half the time, only costs half, but it's twice the frustration because you're sitting here and you can only, if you get 3 treasures in one go, that's pretty darn good. I was generally fighting to get 2 because like you said, they're so deep. Choco's starting out for me, and if you've gotten all the Chocographs up to this point like I have, you're probably about similar. His beak's only doing about 10 damage, so every single treasure you're having to hit at least 6 times, and gosh.
It's the most frustrating thing when you've gotten a good treasure, right? You can see the high point total. That's typically how you know it's something good. Yeah. Might not be a Chocograph, but it's, maybe 200 gil or 10 or whatever.
Yes.
And then you run out of time just before you get it.
You're sitting there mashing it as hard as you can. And I'm glad you brought up the guild point too, because don't forget, and I did, that if you did get that Give Me My Money AT, you don't have any gil. You don't have any money. So maybe do some battles. I was very lucky, man. I had like 120 gil going into it. And I was like, I really don't want to go right back out all the way around, do that. And I got a couple of the 500 gil ones. So I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Oh,
So
nice.
just kind of keep that in mind that you probably
is
don't
all I
have
keep.
any money if you do that ATE, and you have to fork out 30 gil each time.
That's crazy. I didn't think of that actually. Yeah, because if you got the ATE, yeah, you're in that situation. But anyways, so there's 3 Chocographs that you can currently get now at the shallow part.
Yes.
One of us is number 7, Forgotten Lagoon. That one has a really nice chest. I think it's around the Forgotten Continent, and it has the Dragon's Claws, which is really insane. Weapon for Amaranth.
Kind of jumps up 2 tiers. And yeah, and on that note, we're not gonna really get into any specifics about where all these are, because just a disclaimer for all of you, we're about to go through about 8 of them, right? So we're just
Yeah,
gonna be
too
tossing out
much to explain.
all of these treasures. Obviously have things like potions and gems and all that stuff. We're just gonna basically be hitting on the kind of key items. It's usually an accessory or weapon or something like that, just so we can kind of keep this rolling here.
Yeah. So next one, you've got Abandoned Lagoon, and the nice item of that is the Enkai armlet. It's okay. I mean, it teaches VV water, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And then you've also got Dawn Lagoon. This is an awesome one, right?
Yes. Yeah, so you get the mountain upgrade. So you basically progress a little further with Choco, right? Even going back to Mist Continent, that unlocks a whole new amount of things for you, which again, we will get to. So we're going to kind of just go through the Chocographs. We're going to then go through what you can now reach with all these upgrades. But next thing, boom, there you go. And then also with that mountain upgrade, you will then want to go back to the Chocobo Forest, because now that unlocks the other parts of the Chocobo Forest to dig.
Yeah.
So, it just makes it even more difficult to get anything, because you'll be digging around the
hate
bottom
it.
like do, and you're like, all right, I guess it's up one of those sides.
Yeah.
I sure like wasting
Yeah.
25 seconds,
Yeah, and we could get like way lost in strategies and things, but it is really annoying because what happens now is you have the same amount of time, but you have like 2 little upper areas
Yeah.
on either side of the area that there's an exclamation mark that, you just go over there and he climbs up there. But the treasures can be up there, and it's like you just never know. So usually I
No.
try to sweep the lower area, and then if it's, you just hope that you guess right
Oh,
on
but
which
yeah.
which side it is.
Yeah,
But
and not only that, it's like you said, we won't go too much, but now can be frustrating, because if you dig kind of close to where the exclamation point is, you might
yeah,
accidentally run up rather than dig. It's like, come on. And
I've
so,
definitely done that
yeah,
several times. It's really annoying.
it
But
is.
there's some crazy chocographs. Again, this takes a lot of time to do because you just have to play the game so many times,
Yes,
etc. You can get number 13, Forbidden Forest. This is just broken at this point if
it
you get
is.
this, honestly, because it's right. The treasure itself is really close to Chocobo's Forest. You can get it right away. It's actually really easy to find as well, and it comes with the High Mage Staff. This teaches Vivi Meteor, okay? Like, this is just
Well, and it's the
ridiculous.
second best staff
Yeah, at this point in the game.
at this
So it
point.
just goes
Yeah.
to show
We
that
were
you can.
just excited to get that new staff, and hell,
Oh,
that doesn't matter. Here you go. Here's High Mage staff.
it's so epic when you get this. Again, this takes a lot of time, so a lot of people just skip this and leave it to the end. But it's crazy how early you can do it. Like you can get that. You can get his second best spell this early in the
This
game,
early, yeah.
which is
I mean,
crazy.
it is crazy, and yes, to the point Alex just made too. If you don't want to break all your characters, don't get any of this stuff, because all of the stuff that literally opens up right now in the
Honestly.
game is just bonkers how good it is. And so just keep that in
Gonna make
mind.
it
You don't
really
have to
easy.
do these things, but if you do
Seriously.
want to, you are going to be getting some absolutely insanely good items, some almost the best items in the game already.
For real.
Another one you can get, though, is number 14, Green Plains. You do want this one because I know you just got the mountain upgrade, but if you want to get the
Yeah.
ocean upgrade, here you go.
Here we go.
It's goodness, man. You can do
So-
that, and then once you do get that, again, going back to it, basically makes the Blue Narciss obsolete, because now you
Yeah,
can
at this
you can
point.
walk anywhere on the game as long as there's a beach or water.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet if you get this. Then you can get the Okay, so one thing that I will note is that you still can't get the Dusk and Forgotten Plains Chocographs. These are numbers 15 and 16. The reason why is because they're on the Forgotten Continent, which we haven't been to yet, and
Right.
you actually can't get there because there are no beaches to that place. So, unfortunately, those ones you're just going to have to wait on.
If you're just kind of want to make sure you have all of them, you should have up to 16. So I think 16 is Forgotten Plains. If you got all those, you have gone all of them that you can at this point. It's just as Alex said, 15 and 16, you just simply can't reach yet.
But you can just go back and get all of the other ones that we haven't gotten at this point. So these aren't really all that great, but we'll talk about them anyway. So now that you have the mountain upgrade, you can get Uncultivated Land, which is by Alexandria on the Mist Continent.
Yep.
This comes with Jade Armlet and Cargo Ship card.
Woohoo!
Woo!
Cargo ship.
Yeah.
And another one is it's number 6 Cold Field. You probably have had this one for a long time. You can go all the way up to it's like kind of the snowy ice continent, whatever it is, all the way up to the north. And we will be going back to what other towns there, but that Chocograph's there again, kind of nothing really that good. You just get the theater ship card, which I think we already got, don't we? I don't know. All the ships
pack,
one
but
just go together in my brain, but
basically they're not very good. They have
no.
like, they're physical attack cards, but whatever. A good one though that you can get at this point is Faraway Lagoon. I
Yes.
believe this one is over by the Forgotten Continent, so if you kind of go over to the beaches over there and find some choco tracks, you can get this. Comes with shield armor and Gaia gear, so those are pretty nice.
Yeah, they're better than I think anything you have at this point.
Oh, definitely. And Gaia gear, it raises earth element attacks, which I was thinking is like that's not useful for Vivi, but I guess
Could be good for Kina.
Could be useful for Kina, yeah, with a
Yeah,
coming up ability. So
yeah. And yeah, the last two we got is number 10's Bird's Eye Lagoon. That just has a Magician Row. We've had those forever. And then number 11, Small Beach, which is just notable things in Oak Staff, which again, we've had that for a long time as well. So
but I just got to know, like I was thinking about this, you could have gotten these really early. I decided not to, but I think honestly you could get these immediately after the Reef ability, which we got like way
yes,
back before Burmecia. So really, that's actually kind of broken too, because you could get Bio and Drain with the Oak Staff before you even go through Burmecia if you really
that's
want.
true.
But
Yeah, because they are
anyways,
just off of the Mist Continent beaches.
yeah.
So yeah, you can reach these and yeah, I guess we just kind of forgot about the Choco
Yeah, well,
Crabs.
we didn't want to backtrack and do all that stuff.
Yeah. But so that is all of the Chocographs up to this point. And again, we just talked about the armor and, accessories, whatever. With that, with all of those treasures came a whole slew of potions, items, gems and stuff.
Yeah.
So you did get a ton of stuff in there. And, well, there's even more Chocobo things to do with our newly upgrades. But before we get to them, let's do our bold move. All right, man, I'm going to go in and start us off this time. So, my bold move goes to a man who, well, he's got a lot of stuff going on. He's got a lot of issues, and he doesn't really care about people's stories. But his name is Titus. And when he's at Kilika Temple, right, and they're going into the trials, they told him he can't come down into that. It's not his fault that Donna was a jerk and put him down there. But it was a pretty bold move for Titus to not just, take the elevator right back up.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, well, I'm down here. And then it's like, dude, you got options, man. One, you could stay by and just wait for them. Two, you could go back up, I mean, it's like, no, you're like, I have to go through. And obviously, Yuna could suffer the consequences.
Yeah. And it's really funny that I played around at that point in the game too, and it's funny, like the game doesn't give you any option because if you go back to the elevator, he'll be like, come on, move, go up, and then it just doesn't do anything. And you'll sit there, you can stay there for as long as you want, but nothing will happen.
No,
so
they won't get finished to come back, but yeah, pretty bold move for him just to go on forward.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, man. All right, so this week, taking it to Final Fantasy VII.
All right.
And you remember the large materia mission where you're trying to collect all of those and everything, and you have to go to Mount Corel?
Yep.
Well, You know, it was a real bold move for Sid to think that he could actually operate a train, man. He just
Yeah,
does
rockets are a
not know what
little
he's doing.
different.
Yeah, he's like, well, there's two levers, and if I move them alternately, then we can get this thing to work.
Yep. Oh, Sid.
So
Well,
yeah, that's my bold move for this week.
all right. Well, let's get back to see what kind of treasure we can continue digging up. So there's a couple other things that you can do with your newly upgraded Chocobo. Remember, you can basically go over literally anything, you just can't fly at this point. So something that I just never did, man, and I was looking at it, I'm like, why didn't I do that? You can go back to Southgate and get that treasure that was up that ladder. Remember, you couldn't originally because you had that sack of pickles that must have cost 30,000 gil, but now you can. And what's in that treasure?
Oh man, it's an elixir card.
Yeah.
And I know what you're saying too. That is, I didn't think of that either, actually. That's a good point because you have to. It's a really weird location of Southgate that you can't even walk to.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah, it's up on
the
side of the mountain.
Yeah, it's like on a ledge for some reason. So for you guys listening, this is basically you go over to where Chocobo's forest is, and you go over to that south gate where you had the little scene with Tantalus and Senna making the coffee, etc.
Right.
So just go up that ledge, and then right on that there's a ledge up that cliff. That south gate, that's where you got the scene with Steiner and the pickles and all that stuff. And yeah, you can finally climb up that ladder. And Elixir card
Yeah,
isn't that great, but
it's an
still.
interesting thing. Yeah, I don't even know there was an elixir card. They've got such strange cards in this game, but
it's like item cards.
No, I mean
think it's more defensive.
It is. It's kind of and I didn't even know about it. I didn't really care if it was had multiple arrows. Mine had one arrow on it again. Lucky me. And it's a magic card. It had 3 attack, and then the others were like 5 and 4 and 5. So I mean, it does have pretty good defenses.
Defensive.
Yeah. But it's there, and it was, so you can get that. There is another, on the opposite side, so Alex, as you just described it, if you go up and over, you can now go on the other side of the south gate, and there's like a Moogle there, there's no magnet letters or anything, and there's like an elixir and some money, so don't forget to grab that also.
Yeah, that's over by the Alexandria side, I believe, right?
Yes.
There's some items and whatnot, and you could never reach that because of the river, so
exactly.
Stuff.
So yeah, you can get to that now, and well, now here comes even more stuff. So you probably noticed after you got the mountain upgrade that you started getting some additional items, or really an additional item while you were digging with Choco. And those are dead peppers, right? And so you surprisingly have access to 4 of the 5 dead pepper things that you can do. As far as, well, that's for the dives, excuse me. As far as the cracks go, you can only get 1 of them right now, but man, is this some good stuff.
Seriously. So basically, like what Mark was saying, these dead peppers, if you use them while you're riding Choco, he kind of like spazzes out and does like this crazy pecking attack thing or whatever.
Right.
Anyway, so on the world map, when you're riding around, you might occasionally see like sort of like a little chasm on the side of the mountain, or like a big crack or something. Looks like a cave or something. You use the dead pepper right next to it, and you get some, like what Mark was saying, some insane items. And the one that you can get right now is up on the snowy continent. It's way up to the north, sort of on the western side.
Yeah.
And in this one, I would make a save before this because you get an airship card, which, don't ask me what this thing is.
I know, right?
Like a picture of a weird little 8-bit airship.
Yeah.
But really good card, crazy attack and everything. Then you also get a Rosetta ring and a Protect ring, and they have really awesome abilities, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. These accessories start just getting really good here. We got, for the Rosetta ring, it's got Reflect ×2, which essentially, if you use spells on Reflect, it doubles the potency of it. So I mean that's crazy good. And then Concentrate is another one on it, which just increases your spell's damage. So I mean, insane, man. Insane if you wanted to pair that with, some Reflect, Auto Reflect or something on VV. And then the other one is Protect Ring, which, you know, you might think, oh, Auto Protect. No, it's even better than that. You got Long Reach, so you can put Zidane on the back row if you want to have him do full damage. Or if you want to put it on a caster or whatever, it's half MP. So, I mean, we got some really crazy good abilities here now.
Yeah, these are seriously some of the best add-ons in the whole game. And another nice thing about Rosetta Ring is it absorbs fire elemental attacks. So it really is just, you get this now, and this is why we're saying, like, honestly, fair warning to you guys, these will break the game. It's already an easy game. This is just going to be absolutely
my character's
insane.
level 22.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I know, and that's
to
what's
put
fun.
that
Like,
in perspective here.
having Vivi with half MP is just broken. So,
yeah,
anyways.
seriously. Well, then you can master and put on the Rosetta Ring, you know, and all that stuff. So, whatever, you know, the possibilities are endless. So the other things I alluded to earlier are the dive spots. Essentially the same thing. You'll just see some bubbles out in the ocean that you can use the Dead Pepper and have Choco dive. And we got a few here. So it's really hard to describe where they are. So we're just gonna leave it general. You can look it up if you need. But the first one we'll talk about is like it's almost all the way at the top of the map, way north. And it's kind of just in between the lines of islands. This one's actually kind of not. I mean, it's pretty good. You get basically just a ton of potions, high potions, ethers, and elixirs. So it's kind of like a little care package for your survivability here.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, these can be kind of tricky to find. Best thing to do is just to look up like a map online or something, and then just try and pinpoint where it's at, because they're really hard to explain.
They are, and it's pretty hard to see them too.
True. Yeah, you have to really be paying attention. The other one, this is a really weird one. I don't really get this. So on the east side of the Mist and Outer Continents, there are these ones that have like luau clothing.
Yeah, it's got sandals, straw hats,
and all of this kind of stuff. And they're really weird because they have horrible defense and no abilities. They're just garbage items. It's kind of like a gimmick. They put them in the game for fun or something?
For fun. Well, and see, the better thing with that would be if it actually, you know, changed their character model. That would actually be pretty cool. That'd be pretty hysterical to see them vacationers out there fighting, but it doesn't even do that.
Doesn't do that. So you're just wearing garbage equipment. So I don't
for the fun of it.
But
so whatever. I guess maybe just a little Easter egg they wanted to put in the game, I guess. Yeah. But there's another one that you can get. It is pretty much just north of the Chocobo Lagoon in one of those inlets there. You just got to kind of find it. It's got some decent stuff. It's got Genji gloves, which if you played all the other Final Fantasies, you might get really excited. But well, in 9, it's actually I think it has High Tide, and that's it. So I mean, it's not really anything too special. You do get the like Blue Narciss card though. Is that one any good?
Yeah, it is. That's so all of the ship cards are physical attack, and Blue Narciss is not bad. It's like one of the better ship cards. I think it typically comes with like 5 or 6 physical attack and some decent defense, so it's not bad.
Yeah.
So you also get the black robes with this one, right?
Yeah. Again, just. No big deal. I'm just getting Flare at level 22. You know.
Don't get this.
You know,
or at least don't equip it, because seriously, Flare at this point in the game, it's like we just talked about Meteor. Flare is almost even better than Meteor because even though it doesn't hit all enemies, it consistently hits for like the same amount of damage.
Yeah.
Like where Meteor has a weird variance built into its damage calculation, so it can either hit for really a lot or not a lot. But
exactly.
Anyways, this one is a little bit easier. The next one's a little bit easier to find. Basically, just go over to Quan's dwelling again, which you can now do because you've got Choco with the mountain ability.
Just ride him right there. 2 seconds, he'll be up there.
And then you go over to that balcony, right?
Yeah, so remember, you go all the way back, and we talked about it way back when we visited her the first time. You got that grandfather clock that's there. And if you just go to the edge of the dock, you'll get an option to go ahead and use the Dead Pepper. And essentially, Choco he'll dive all the way down from there. You don't have to do this, mind you. You can go to essentially where the location is. It just usually doesn't work. It's like almost like you're not getting deep enough kind of a deal. You know, that's how the game's saying, even if you're just swimming. So if you go to Quan's, it's 100%. And my gosh, man. Oh, we're just gonna give you the best racket in the game with Tiger Racket.
Tiger Racket. Yeah, this is an awesome weapon. I believe it teaches her, is it Kiraga?
It's
But
Dispel.
Dispel. Okay, that's a
Yeah.
weird ability on the best racket. But anyways, it hits really hard. It's
Yeah, it does so much damage.
it's really good. So basically, all of a sudden, Aiko or Dagger can be in the back row hitting for a lot of damage, a lot of
Yeah.
physical damage. And you also get the Red Rose card, which is another really good ship card. So, these are I don't really think it's worth it to save before and wait for like the best ones because they're not that great, but still pretty good cards.
Yeah, and it is kind of nice because as you talked about the physical damage, we don't really have that many great physical damage cards. We got a lot of defensive
Yeah.
ones, and we got some pretty good magic ones. But as far as
Got the
physical
snuggly
defense
ones.
goes, maybe Nova Dragon, or something like it's
If you did that, yeah.
yeah. So
So
regardless, that is all of the Chocobo. I know we took half of the episode just to talk about the Chocobo stuff, but
Oh.
it kind of is mind blowing at how much you can do in putting this episode together and these notes together. I didn't know this. I never honed in. Now, granted, yes, please don't just tear your hair out trying to get all of these chocographs. I mean, I myself this morning was already starting to get a little annoyed with it. I was doing it for about an hour, and so
takes a lot of time.
it does. It's a lot of chocographs, so take it as it is, especially maybe if you don't want to, kind of break the game. But it's just crazy all you can do.
Right, yeah. So now like we said, we got a lot of side quests to go over.
Yeah.
But now we'll move on to the frog catching thing. Again, this is all just stuff if you want to do it. You absolutely don't need to do it because frog catching, there's basically you get some. I mean, we went over all the items up until
We did. Well, I think
I
we went
forget which
over
one.
all of them. Yeah, it's been a while,
Yeah.
but yeah.
But there's a point like once you get past I think like 24, 25 or something, you don't get another item until like 45, which is the gastro fork, I believe.
Yeah.
And then you don't get anything until 100. So what this does is it increases the frog drop damage. But you can access the one on Lunar Island. So this is a new one over on the western side of the map. It's kind of by all of those new little islands. If you go over to Chocobo Lagoon and then just go north, you'll
Yep.
see a little island with a marsh, and you can go there. You can also go back to the one on the Mist Continent, of course, and you can
Yep.
go back to the one on the Lost Continent. So
Yes. But the one on Lunar Island, though, what's your warning to
Oh.
people on that?
Right? I don't know if this has ever happened to you, man. This has definitely happened to me. I'm always super careful. And if you're a new player to Final Fantasy IX, this will probably get you. Be really careful with random encounters because
Yes.
if you get a random encounter on like the normal grassy area, there are freaking grand dragons there.
Yeah.
And these guys
You ain't
are
gonna
gonna
win.
wipe your party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with
Because-
all these items, you're not winning.
Pretty much, because what'll happen is if you're lucky, he'll maybe use one of his singular attacks, but if you're unlucky, he'll start off with Thundaga on the whole party and he'll just wipe you guys
Wipe it out. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean if you're not like ridiculously over leveled, you pretty much have zero chance at
They're
beating him.
really high level. I think they're like level 45 or something.
Yeah.
Um,
So just be kind
just
of
avoid
careful there. If you do want to go to that new marsh, remember the new one north of Lagoon, just kind of run straight there. Don't play around in the grass at all. So
yeah, and just to note, this applies to all of those islands. Grand Dragon is a common encounter on all of those islands. Just be careful.
yeah, yep. All right. Well, we still do have a little bit more to talk about before we basically just have to progress the story. But before we do that, let's do our seed trivia. All right. If you remember last episode, Alex did get his rank 23 after his second attempt. So today we are on Alex's seed rank 24 quiz. So let's get to it, man. Final
right.
Fantasy 13. The very
Had to
first
do that.
weapon that you can find in a treasure. So way back at the beginning of the game, the very first
Yeah.
weapon you can find in a treasure is Snow's Power Circle.
True.
All right, Final Fantasy 12. Belias cost 30 LP to unlock on the license board.
False.
Final Fantasy X-2. You probably know this one, but I figured I'd dig into it. Now, this is kind of more on the... I don't know if it's been updated in the remastered, so just think in the original version. Yuna's Moogle abilities have access to Warrior and Dark Knight skills.
Oh, shoot. True. That's a tough one.
Final Fantasy X. And this is going to the original sphere grid. The first unlockable node for Waka. So there, I'll go ahead and spoil it. The first one is a blank one. So the first unlockable node for Waka is an accuracy one.
You mean like unlockable behind a
No, like, you know, just the
sphere?
first one you encounter, you know what I mean? Like just the first one that you can
yeah,
actually get.
False.
Alright, Final Fantasy IX. Kind of continuing on to Chocographs, but Chocograph number 20, which is the Mist Ocean, is the one that you get the flying upgrade.
False.
Final Fantasy VIII. I don't know if you're gonna get this one, man. Irvine is great with all of the ladies.
Well, so he says. True.
Alright, our last question's in Final Fantasy VII. Ultimate weapon has about 100,000 health.
True.
Alright, man, let's recap this. So our Final Fantasy 13 question was that the very first weapon that you just find in treasures out and about is Snow's Power Circle. Mm-hmm. You said true, and it is true. It is Snow's Power Circle. Alright, Final Fantasy 12. Belias cost 30 LP to unlock. You said false, and it is false. It's only 10, right? He's just a little guy.
I remember like Mateus is like 25. That was what kind of keyed me in. I was like, I know it's lower than Mateus.
Yep.
But...
All right, used reasoning there. Yeah, all right. Final Fantasy X-2 was the whole Yuna's Moogle abilities have access to Warrior and Dark Knight skills. You said true, and it is true. She does have those.
Nice.
Final Fantasy X was the first, like, you know, node that you can actually unlock with Waka. Is an accuracy. You said false, and it is false. It's an agility one.
Agility, yeah. Played that game too many times.
Alright, Chocograph number 20 in Final Fantasy 9, the Mist Ocean one, is the flying upgrade. You said false, and it is true. It is true.
I knew that right after I was like, dang it, I think that's actually true. Oh well.
Oh well, yeah, you only missed one so far. Alright, Irvine is great with all the ladies. You said true based on what he said, and it's true in his mind, at least, right? In his mind, it's true.
Oh man, it's a trick question, huh?
It is, isn't it? Alright, our last one for Final Fantasy VII with Ultimate Weapon has about 100,000 health. You said true, and it is true. I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about that. That's a lot of health, but luckily you don't have to do it all at once.
Yeah.
So, alright, man, you only missed one. You passed, so you got your rank 24.
Woo,
with that nice little 1,000 gil upgrade every payday. So
1,000 gil.
There you go, man.
Nice.
All right, well, let's see what else we can find in the open world here. All right, well, you know, we do finally have Kina back. It's only been like literally half the game since she left. So all of those blue magics that we went over all the time with her eating, you can now get them, right? But little extras too, because you can find new enemies. So what are some of the new ones?
Yeah, so you can actually get some pretty good abilities with Kina at this point. So if you go over to Lunar Island, which is the place we were talking about with the new Q's Marsh and the Grand Dragons and all that stuff. So this is where you want to be really careful because it's very specific where this guy, where you get random encounters with him. It's the Adam and Toysey enemy, which is like the giant turtle.
Yep.
And you have to be in sort of like the, it's like the marsh area directly outside of Q's Marsh, not the grasslands, just kind of like you can see it's got like more of
marsh
a moss
pattern
green color. Yeah. And so you can fight that guy. He's could be pretty challenging as well, depending on your levels. But if you manage to eat him, you get Earth Shake, which is an awesome ability, and this is one that we were kind of alluding to
Right.
before with the Gaia gear.
Yep.
So
Increases
that's
that
pretty
damage.
cool.
So, yeah, and so
Another one,
another new one that we have is what's Bad Breath,
yeah,
which I mean, we all love Bad Breath.
yeah.
Not right. Everyone got many game overs to Bad Breath, but
Oh
it's
man, it's notorious.
yeah, it's the anemone, right? And that's
Yeah.
inside the Q's Marsh that you'll find. This is
Yes.
still the one on Lenar's Island, right?
Yeah, I didn't actually know this really for the longest time. An enemy is a really weird looking enemy in
Yeah.
there, and they're not too difficult to beat, so you don't have to worry too much about that. Then, of course, you can always go back, and we mentioned these when we were going through the Aetha tree. You can just head on back there. You can get roulette from the zombies, which sucks.
Yeah, it
You
does.
know, it's an ability that you can get, whatever. And then you can get level 5 death from the Draco zombie, which is pretty good. One thing I will note about that is Draco zombie isn't the only enemy you can get level 5 death from. You can also go over to the beaches on the snowy continent to the north
Yep.
and fight the I think it's like a whale zombie or
Yeah,
something. You
yeah,
can
I
get
forget what
level
his
5
name
death
is,
from
but
it.
yeah, essentially like a giant whale.
Yeah.
And
Floating
and
whale.
just I don't think we've ever talked about the level fives or level threes, whatever. And just in case
Yeah.
you're not really sure what that means, all it essentially is if the level is divisible by whatever level the spell is.
Yeah.
So, for instance, level 5 death, if the enemy level is divisible by 5, it will work. So, and it's like that across the board for all the Final Fantasies. So just kind of clear that up in case anyone never knew that. Some
Yeah.
other things you
'Cause
can
if
do
there's
is you could go back if you have a Kupo nut, which you probably should have,
yeah.
and deliver it to Malguta at Gizmogluk's Grotto. You will get the extension add-on at this point,
Yeah.
which have we can get extensions, right?
Yeah, you can get them, but
It's just
it's the
it's a free
best thing
one.
you're gonna get from the whole Maguta Kupo Nut thing. At this point, going forward, I believe what they end up doing is just giving you the Aloha gear, like that
Yeah.
that the luau gear that we were talking about, Aloha t-shirt, etc., etc. So at this point, after extension, it's not really that worth it. But
Yeah.
anyways.
Unless you just want to do it for the heck of it. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, man, but yeah, so one thing that I do think this is really interesting and very important to know is that snowy continent. So you go up there, there's like a building that you can go to, and it's Gaza.
Yep.
And so if you go there and you're kind of just exploring stuff, you're jumping the gun as far as the story. We will be back here later on in the game. But what's interesting is that the shop inventory changes later on in the game, and right now they have like everything mithril for sale. So like
Yeah,
mithril
it's pretty
helm,
interesting.
mithril armlet. Yeah, it's really weird. But the reason why this is important is because we've talked about missable items before. Mithril sword is about to be unattainable after this point. And me and Mark were talking about this earlier, just kind of chatting about how important this is. That you know, if you miss this and you don't have one in your inventory, I don't think it's used for any synthesis items, but you want to have at least one so that Steiner can learn armor break. Because if you don't
Yes.
have one and you miss it, he will never be able to learn armor break. You can't steal it, you can't find it in chest. After this point, it is unattainable. So definitely get one.
Yes. At least get one in. And with everything else being mithril, I don't think anything is good. Right. So I mean,
Uh,
that was
yeah.
essentially what it is. Also just pick up any other items that you've missed, or maybe don't have, but
Or get copies of them like Mithril Armlet and whatnot. But
exactly. Yep. So that's one kind of new area you can go to. You can surprisingly go back to Alexandria. You can just drive the Blue Narciss right into the harbor. You can go and do that. And there's some items here, some things we already have: amethyst, opal,
yeah,
sapphire. The gems. Remember, getting these, don't just blow them off like, oh, we already got one. Because remember, the more you have, the more damage those summons do. So you do want as many as you can get. You probably just got a ton from all those Chocographs, but still, you can get that. But the main thing that you can get is yet another card.
Yeah, this one's pretty sweet. So I was actually looking this up, and some people were asking the question like, how it's a card before I jump the gun.
Right.
So if you go to the square, there's these kids running around, and you talk to the little girl, and she gives you the Alexandria card, which is pretty sweet. It's sort of like the Lindblom card. It's gonna have 0 attack, but it's gonna have crazy defense. So
Yeah,
it's
very
pretty nice.
defensive.
One thing that I will say that I looked up in some of the questions online that was interesting is, and this goes with the Chocograph treasures as well that have cards. Make sure that you don't have 100 cards, because if you do, you won't get it. And with the Chocograph items, or sorry, Chocograph cards, if you have 100 cards, it'll automatically discard it. So
Okay.
just a word of warning. I think I've done that before. You'd have to play a lot of cards.
Yeah,
I don't know if
or do a
anybody's
lot
that
of
crazy.
battles and just get a lot of cards that way too.
Right.
They just give
But
it to you.
that's the main takeaway from Alexandria. So
Okay. Yep. And, well, there's only one other place that you can go to, and I would recommend doing so, is the Trino. Well, it's specifically the Trino Auction House. It's got a couple of new items. Now, here's the problem, though, is, yeah, you're probably poor. If you did do that ATE from Lindblom, I mean,
Yeah.
unless you just did an absurd amount of, Chocobo Hot Cold and got a lot of that gil, you probably don't have a whole lot. So I would recommend, especially since you have Kina right now, put on the Millionaire thing and just go ahead and do some battles. The Snowy Continent is actually pretty good. Those battles are just, just be careful. Do some there, but some things that you can get. First one that we'll talk about is the Promised Ring, right? Dude, this one's just crazy. I mean, again, it's these abilities on it. So you get Absorb MP, Magic Element Null, and then Restore HP. So, I mean, it's not the best in the world, but still, like, and not to mention the stats on these are actually also really good.
Yeah, and I mean, again with the abilities, they're really interesting abilities, but I don't think I've ever actually found use for like magic elemental null. Restore HP can be pretty nice, but anyways,
Yes.
the really good item, and this is going to cost a lot of gil for sure to buy this. The Thief Gloves.
Yes.
Peach's Master Thief. This is amazing if you do a lot of stealing with Zidane.
Yes, and especially with bosses coming up, we got some more great items that you can steal as usual, and it's essentially what it just further increases the chance to steal, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not really sure what the calculation is for it, but it increases your chances of stealing the rare item.
Yes,
So
there
if
it
you
is.
have that plus Bandit, that's pretty much all you can do to increase
Yep.
your chance of getting the good steals. Going back to the money thing, you do have another option for making money. I mentioned a while ago the cotton robe trick. So now that you have, Now that you have Choco with the mountain ability, you can go and buy wrists from Dali, and you can go and buy steepled hats, probably from Black Mage Village or something, and you can just make a bunch of cotton robes. If you have the money to do so, sell them for double the price, and then do that over and over again. So
Yep.
there's a couple of different ways.
Yep, and you probably do have a whole bunch of stock of ethers right now, so you can start selling off some of those if you want.
That's true. Yeah,
As well as the other items and anything else. So, with that said, that is everything that you can do on the side before we actually progress the story. It's kind of insane how much opens up right now. You literally just got a boat. It's like, well, here you go, because now you can upgrade your Chocobo and blah, blah, blah. But regardless, at this point, only thing to do is to go ahead and head to the Black Mage Village. We know that's where we need to go for the story. And that's where we're going to leave it, because we will hit that next time. We'll actually progress the story again, and we'll get rolling. I know it's been kind of a lull here for the last few episodes and all that, just kind of getting through a lot of the actual story itself and then side quest stuff, but we're all set. You should, you're all kitted out. You're going to be beast flaring and meteoring everything along the way, and,
Seriously.
no big deal. We'll just one-shot everything moving forward. All right, well, we thank you all for listening. As always, you can stop off at our Instagram and our website. Same handle as our name of our podcast, Final Stop for Final Fantasy Talks. com also for the website. And, you know, we just got all the additional things there. We got the media, we got the blog post with songs, see trivia questions, the usual things that we always talk about each episode. So make sure you go ahead and check that out to get a little bit more plugged in. We're loving all the interaction on social media as always. We're starting to kind of grow quite a bit. So we thank you all for listening in and just being a part of it all. It's going really well, and we're just super stoked.
Yeah, we appreciate all you guys, and we'll keep it going. We're glad that you're enjoying the content.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Mark.
And I'm Alex.
And this is Final Stop for Final Fantasy Talks.